right, welcome to Algebra Chapter 6, Section 2. Today we are solving systems by substitution. So I had to go to the back of my table of contents page. So if you're at the end of the front, go ahead and flip on to the next page and then flip to page 60. Once again, I'm going to do my even page on the little half sheet of paper and glue it in. So solving systems by substitution. Now, the thing about systems of equations, we're actually going to learn several different ways to solve them. And graphing is awesome, but really it only works if your X and Y values are both like nice integers. If you have decimals or fractions, it's really hard to see. So then we might need to switch to a different way to solve. This is the next one that we're doing. And so these are the steps. We're just going to write these down, then I'm going to do some examples to show you. So when necessary, solve at least one equation for a variable. And it doesn't matter which variable, but it either needs to be like X equals or Y equals. Then you are going to substitute the resulting expression into the other equation and solve for the variable. And if you're going, I don't understand, that's okay, because we're going to do some examples and we're going to walk through this. But right now, just write these steps down. And then the last step is going to be plug the solution into one of the original equations. So plug the solution into one of the original equations and solve for the other variable. All right, so those are the steps we're going to use. Make sure you have those written down. And now we're going to do some examples. And these unfortunately do take a bit of like showing your work and stuff. But just bear with me and do it. Okay, so let's say I have this. Y equals 4x minus 6. That's 1. And then I have 5x plus 3y equals -1. Now, I don't need to do step 1, which is solve for a variable, because this one's already in y equals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this entire thing and I'm going to plug it in right there for where y is. So I'm going to write this over here. So I'm going to rewrite this equation, but instead of a y, I'm putting that in. So it's going to be 5x plus 3, and then in parentheses what y equals, which is 4x minus 6 equals -1. Now, at this point, you could do y1, y2, and get it to where you know what x is. So if you mess that up by solving this by hand, go ahead and do that. But I'm going to solve it by hand real quick. So I'm going to distribute. So I have 5x plus 12x minus 18 is -1. I'm going to combine my like terms. So 5x plus 12x is 17x. I'm going to get all of the numbers on the other side. So I end up with 17x equals 17. And then I'm going to divide to get the letter by itself. So I end up with x equals 1. And so that's part of my answer. That's not the only answer, because when you're solving for systems, you need both the x and y. So I'm going to take this x value and I'm going to plug it back in here to my original equation, right there where the x goes. So to get the y value, I'm going to go, well, y equals 4 times 1 minus 6. And then I can just plug 4 times 1 minus 6 in my handy dandy calculator, and I will get that the y value is -2. Now, once I have my x and my y, I'm going to write it as an ordered pair. So that's in parentheses, the x value, comma, the y value, end parentheses. And I'm going to put a box around it to show, hey, that's my answer. So that's the solution to this system of equations. Now we're going to do one more down here. So if I have this, x minus 3y equals -9, and then I have 5x minus 2y equals 7. Well, you can see that neither of these have just a letter by itself. And so you can do whichever letter you want. But for me, this x is just by itself. So if I add 3y to both sides, then I end up with x equals -9 plus 3y. Now remember, you can't combine them because one has a y and one doesn't. Now I'm going to take this expression and I'm going to plug it in right over here to that x, into the other equation. So I have 5, and then in parentheses, instead of an x, I'm going to go -9 plus 3y. And I'm finishing this one out, minus 2y equals 7. And once again, if you wanted to do y1, y2, you could. I'm just going to knock this out by hand really quick. So I have -45 plus 15y minus 2y equals 7. Now I'm going to combine like terms. Plus 15y minus 2y. So I have -45 plus 13y. I'm going to get all the numbers on one side. And I end up with 13y equals 52. Divide by 13. And I have the y value is 4. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to plug it back into one of my original equations. And I'm going to figure out what the x value is. So I have x minus 3 times 4 equals -9. And once again, you could do the y1, y2 thing. I do want you to write the equations that you're typing into the calculator, but then you can use the calculator if you want. And I end up with x is 3. So now I'm going to write it as an ordered pair, 3, 4, and it's my answer. All right, so I'm going to glue this down on this page. We have 2 more examples. And most of the ones we're doing are going to end up like this, where there is a number, an x and a y value that is your answer. And that means that there is one solution. It's 2 lines that cross. But there are some special cases as well. So if I have this, 2x minus y equals 8, and y equals 2x minus 3. So I'm going to take what y equals, because it's already by itself, and I'm just going to plug it in right there to where the y is. So I have 2x minus, and then in parentheses, 2x minus 3 equals 8. Now be careful. This is like, if there's not a number, but there's a minus sign, it's like a -1 right here. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute this. So I have 2x minus 2x plus 3 equals 8. Well, 2x minus 2x goes away, and because they cancel each other out. So I'm just left with 3 equals 8. And hopefully you can see that this is not true. If what you're left with is not true, then there are no solutions. This means that they are parallel lines and they're never going to cross. And so you just stop at that point. You're done. Now, if I have this, 4x minus 3y equals 1, and 6y minus 8x equals -2. And you notice that they switched the order of the x's and the y's, so be careful. The first thing that I need to do is I need to get one of the letters by itself. So I'm going to take the 4x minus 3y equals 1, and I'm going to get the y by itself. So subtract 4x. So I have -3y equals 1 minus 4x, and I'm going to divide by -3. And so what I'm left with is y equals -1/3. A negative divided by a negative is a positive, plus 4/3 x, which I know that y'all don't like dealing with fractions, but the calculator can help you. It's okay. So now I'm going to plug this in to that y. And so I'm going to have 6, and then in parentheses, -1/3 plus 4/3 x minus 8x equals -2. So once I distribute, like I said, the calculator can do it just fine. I have -2 plus 8x minus 8x equals -2. The 8x minus 8x cancels, and I'm left with -2 equals -2. And so what this one, the number equals itself, is true. And so if what you're ending up with is true, then there is an infinite number of solutions. That means it's the same line drawn on itself. And that's what you're going to put for your answer. All right, so solving by substitution is usually not people's absolute favorite way, but you need to know how to do this. It's not that hard. It just takes a little bit of work. And the answer to the next question is Mickey. All righty. So y'all have a good day. See you next time.